everyone, it's Nicole. Today I'm here to talk about all the books that I've read in December 2016 and in January 2017. It's gonna be sort of a transitional video on my channel because I'm gonna be talking about books that I read last year and this year. Still, I couldn't make a separate video for December because I only read 2 books and it would have been an embarrassing finish of the year, so I decided to postpone it and make a compilated video. But still, the future is bright because I'm currently unemployed and happy. I am probably the only person who's genuinely happy about it because my shitty job is finally due and I can move to better things, better opportunities and better mental health. Until I find a new place, I will have more time to read and film videos, which is great for you, and honestly, I think it's great for me as well. It's probably too much information and not the topic of this video because I wanted to talk about books that I've read. So without further ado, the first book that I finished in December was The Circle, the first book in the Angles 4 series written by Strandberg and B.Elfgren. It's the Swedish urban fantasy series that follows a circle of witches. I wanted to say a pack like if they were werewolves, but they are witches. It is set in a small town in Sweden named Engelsfors and follows 5 girls who start developing powers after an alleged death of one of their heavily bullied classmates. It's a really fun, adventurous series and I can't believe that it took me so much time to read. I made a huge mistake. I watched the movie first and I do not suggest you to do it. Don't get me wrong, the movie is great, it is a very true adaptation actually, but after watching it I knew what's going to happen with all the characters and I was introduced to them already in 2 to 5 minutes, so it was very hard for me to read the first half of the book, especially because we are introduced to the characters in many pages and we are introduced to their background. The story is so addicting not only because it's an all-female cast, but also because these characters are so distinguishable. I could tell who am I following without knowing their name, and usually it's a great feature in the book. I also love the fact that all these girls had real issues. They were not mooning over someone or rebelling over something that didn't matter. This book discussed body image, bulimia, bullying, it discussed identity, and it also explored sexuality, which is just a cherry in the cake because it was also adventurous, it was also fun, it was also plot driven, and it has a lot of scenes with very appealing magical rituals. I think the magic itself is done very well in this book. It is very easy to understand, but it also remains intriguing. I didn't question even for a moment that magic exists in this book. I was just happy about the balance between the contemporary and fantasy elements and how they were handled. Going a bit further into the future, I also finished the second book of the series, the name of which is Fire, and I believe I finished it a week ago in January. I adored it and I grew to love this series so much after I think 200 pages of the second book, especially because it develops its characters so well and the relationships between those characters. Not all these girls are friends from the get-go. They actually don't know each other much, so it's very entertaining to see their relationship grow into something more, in a sort of a sisterhood that you expect from a circle of witches. I especially was entertained by Ida's point of view in this book, because she's the one that doesn't want to be a part of this group, and she's the one who doesn't want to know these girls and doesn't want to be friends with them. But in this book she's reluctantly trying to be kinder and to be friendlier, which is a great change for her as a character, and I really enjoyed it. The second point that I also really enjoyed is the one that I just cannot not mention on this channel, and it is the fact that there's a possibility of a same-sex couple turning canon in these books, and I believe it's going to be canon in the third book because the way the second book ended, I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen. I'm just pretty sure. And it was very interesting to see these 2 girls slowly warming up to each other and the slow building romantic relationship that was happening over these books. I just cannot wait to see how the whole thing actually will play out in the third book, if they're going to be together from the start of the third book, from the middle of the third book, or it's going to be a confession and the end of the book. And then of course I couldn't miss the opportunity to check out Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. It was a buzzy book on BookTube, which actually made me very happy because it's a queer fantasy book. And I wanted to know what the whole thing is about, obviously because I read queer lit and also because it made so much noise for some reason. Obviously it was published by a big publishing company and they had a great marketing plan for it. This book already had an opportunity to be successful from the get-go. Also, I think that this particular one had a great premise. It's about a princess whose hand in marriage was already promised to a prince of another kingdom and whose whole life was dedicated to this moment. But when the girl actually arrives to this kingdom, she realizes that she'll never be able to fall in love with this prince because she's starting to fall for his sister. It's a great premise. It's one of those very catchy ones. A lot of people like this type of plot. It's about forbidden love. It's also about hate to love relationships. These two girls are not particularly friendly at first towards each other. The sister finds the princess a bit of an annoyance and just a problem that she has to deal with every day. In my opinion, this book is well written relationship wise and it's well written romantic wise. I loved all the romantic scenes in this one and I just really rooted for these two girls. But in terms of it being a fantasy novel, something lacked for me. The issue was that the kingdom the princess married into didn't allow the magicians to exist and didn't allow them to do magic. But the girl obviously had magical powers. That's the conflict. I just thought that the action sometimes was forced, especially at the first half of the book. Stuff just happened randomly to build up tension and to move the plot forward. In the second half of the book, when I actually got used to the characters and I started loving them, I rooted for them and I wanted them to succeed and I was sad when something bad happened to them. But in the first half of the book, I didn't give two shits, to be honest. For me, this book didn't reach the level of 5 stars, but it did reach the level of 4 stars actually, because I really enjoyed it, especially the second part of it. Also, I think because in the second part, the girls actually started acting romantic towards each other and I could see the potential of their relationship grow into something more and I was intrigued by that. Then in London I picked up Step Aside Pops by Kate Beaton. It's a collection of funny comics that all have to do with historical figures or pop culture. I really enjoyed it. I've read her comics online, but then I was in Blackwell and I just saw this and I really wanted to buy it and to drink my coffee while reading this book. I enjoyed it so freaking much. It was so good. I especially loved the parts about Wonder Woman, and in general I think there was a lot of feminist satire, which I really enjoyed. Some of the characters, historical characters, I don't know a lot about, so I need to read a little bit to understand the jokes. But because I read the majority of the book, I consider it read. I will probably get back to it and will probably also put it somewhere where my guests will be able to pick it up and read, because it's so funny and so great, and in general I think will make a great coffee table book. Did you notice that I actually changed the place where I'm filming? It's my bookshelf. It's finally nice and clean because I reorganized it. It's also now color coordinated. I always wanted to do that and I'm very happy with the results, so you'll see me quite often here. The next thing that I finished was a short story. It was The Summer Palace, the second short story by C.S. Packet that is tied into her Captive Prince series. I still didn't read the first short story, but I really wanted to read this one because it actually follows two main characters, Damon and Lauren, and I am completely in love with their relationship, so I couldn't pass it up. When some people finished the third book, they were disappointed because they didn't see the afterglow, the relationship between Damon and Lauren, and how they sorted out their responsibilities and their relationship. So this short story acts as a relief to that ending and offers an explanation and a bit of an afterglow. I obviously really enjoyed it. I could have lived without it, but it still was nice, sweet and fluffy, and I'm enjoying the direction where this relationship is going. I think after all the drama they had to live through, they finally can be unguarded in front of each other. And by unguarded I mean naked. No, by unguarded I mean vulnerable emotionally, but also naked, but also vulnerable emotionally. I really liked it. It's short. What can I tell more about it? And the last book that I want to mention is actually very interesting and I never seen it on BookTube. I actually didn't find it on BookTube, which is rare this time and day because I'm so immersed in booktube. It's a memoir by a sex worker called Spent and written by Antonia, who was working as a striptease dancer for most of her life. And I found this book through a talk show on YouTube. I'm actually going to link this particular episode. The talk show is Reality Bites. I don't know if you watch it, but you have to. They always have the greatest guests. They're hosted by Brooklyn Nine-Nine Stephanie Beatrice and her friend, a writer, Courtney Kosak. They are so intelligent, funny, great, and they have the greatest guests, as I said before. I watch them religiously, and I've seen this episode with Antonia. Antonia is such an intelligent, well-spoken lady, and I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to read her book. She wrote this memoir, Spent, and talked about her experience with sex work, what it means to her and why she does it. It was such a great experience reading this book because it was so honest. There wasn't a cookie cutter ending, and I suggest you all to just check out this interview and then go read the book, because after this interview I assure you, you will want to read this book. It's pretty graphic, obviously, because it's about sex work, and besides striptease she done a lot of other sex work. If graphic scenes and drug use triggers you, I do not suggest you to pick it up, but if it's something that you find intriguing, if you want to read a good memoir, I highly suggest this one because I was glued to it for a couple of days and I couldn't put it down. That's all the books I believe that I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you enjoyed the new setting. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon, and I'll probably will in the next video. Bye!